Today I will show you the hardest, most challenging seeds in the world, or yeah, something like that. I made videos about the perfect and best seeds that are very convenient to play on, basically everything you can possibly wish for in Valheim being on your main island, but I also heard you guys in the comments. Some viewers wanted a real challenge and a hardcore mode seed, while also having fun obviously. Thus, I went to investigate whether we can actually find such a seed. And to find such a seed, the most challenging seed in the world, I defined 8 criteria points, and these are distance to bosses from your spawn, bosses surrounded by plains, biome allocation on starter island, nearby islands, trader location, intensity of plains. So in other words, how many plains do we find on the map? And then we have the area size of the starting location, how quickly do you need to start sailing, and finally the spread of crypts in swamps. After a lot of research on the map generator and different social media platforms, I finally found the most challenging seed in the world, but I myself could not pick between 3 different options, which all have some unique aspect that the other seeds do not have. So I will show you all 3, and you'll have to let me know in the comment section which you personally find the most challenging seed, so we can declare the most challenging seed in the world by number of votes. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the first seed name is wgwauTVtGh. I'll put the seed names in the description, don't worry. On this seed, you'll start on a relatively big island, but things will take a turn for the worse when you realize how this seed is truly generated. So I will be going to the map tool, and if you don't want spoilers of the total map, then just look at the footage on the right side of the screen of me walking in the world to get an idea of how the world looks. I'll be describing why these maps are very challenging anyway, so yeah. Let's get right into it. So when you look at this seed in the map tool, you'll see that the starting island is relatively okay, not too small. It's pretty big. You have a few biomes, you have mountains here, you have plains here, and you have black forest. But all in all, you don't have a lot of different biomes on your main island, so that's already a bit challenging. But it gets truly challenging when you show the bosses. So you don't have any bosses on your main island, and you actually have to build a raft or a ship to get to the first boss in the game, which is pretty unique because usually your first boss will be on your main island. So that's already a point that makes this a pretty challenging seed. And for the sailing criteria point, this means you will have to build a ship pretty soon in the game, like almost at the start of the game. So yeah, that's one thing. And then when you look at all the other bosses, you can see that they are all almost near the end of the map actually, except for Elder, but Elder is also relatively far. It's not really close, it's kind of far. But if you look at boss number 3, Bone Mass, boss number 4, and boss number 5, Moder and Yaglut, or however you say it, they are, all their possible spawns are pretty much near the end of the map, very far away from you, so you will have to explore quite intensively on this map. So we can conclude for the boss aspect that all bosses are very far from you, from the spawn location, and even the first boss will require you to build a ship. Then when we look at the possible trader spawns, you can see a pattern. Almost every trader spawn is near the end of the map, except for one, this one. And if you are lucky enough to find this one because you sailed in this direction, then you will find your trader pretty quickly. But if you have a little bit of bad luck, your trader will be really far away from you, and you will have to do quite some sailing to find your trader. And I think this map, as far as trader location goes, is one of the worst I've seen so far, as usually you will have at least 2 or 3 trader spawns somewhat in the starting area. But in this case, all trader spawns are literally at the end of the map except for one. So that's the trader location. Then the biomes, like I already said, you don't have a lot of biomes on your starter island, you don't have a lot of biomes near you. However, if you zoom out further and further, you will see a increase in plains intensity here and here and here. You'll have to sell for everything else basically. So let's take a look at the crypts as well in this game. You can see that the spread is actually pretty good, pretty challenging. You'll have locations with a lot of crypts, but you'll also have swamps with very few crypts, like here, and even swamps with no crypts at all. I will say it's a good mix. You have here a lot of crypts, for instance, but here you have only one, here you have one, here you don't have any, here you don't have any, here you don't have any, but here then again you will have a lot of crypts. So the mix is good and challenging enough, but in my opinion the thing that makes this map truly challenging is the spawn locations of the bosses. So to summarize, your first boss is not on your main island, meaning you have to start sailing very quickly in the game. All other bosses are really far from you. The trader location is far. You will have to do a lot of exploring on this map to truly get all resources and to defeat the bosses and to progress in the game. And as far as that goes, I definitely see this seed as one of the most challenging seeds in the world. So seed number 2 goes by the name of Flow Rida, Flow in capital letters. If you generate your world and enter this as your seed, then you will get this. This is a very, very unique seed, and it's also a really fun seed actually. Because look at your starting location. Look how small. It's really, really tiny. This is the smallest starting location I've ever seen, I think. And this is already a good indication of the challenges you will find in this with this seed. So again, for this seed, you will need to travel for the first boss, as your main island or your starting island has basically nothing. So that means you will have to build a ship almost practically at the very start of the game and travel the seas. And when we take a look at the biomes, you can see that your spawn location has no biomes whatsoever. You're on the meadows. And even the island that's close to you has, not a lot either. You have black forest and a few mountains, but we don't really have swamp. You have to go way, way further to get to swamp locations like here or here or here. And plains is even farther away than that, as you can see. So yeah, plains is pretty much spread out, and there's not a lot of plains near your starting location. So when we take a look at the boss locations, you can see that all bosses are pretty much quite far away from your spawn location. And again, for the first boss you will have to sail, which is quite unique in this game. Elder is relatively close if you manage to find this spawn location. Even Motor, but yeah, Bone Mass is really far away, and the final boss is also quite far away, most of his spawns. So the bosses are, again, not that close to your spawn location if you consider all 5 bosses together. So in the first seed that I covered, the bosses were farther away from your spawn location actually. But then with this seed, you have a very, very small starting location, and you don't have a lot of biomes near you. So in those two things, you do have to make a consideration. What do you find more challenging? Bosses being far away from you, or your starting location having nothing whatsoever and being very, very tiny? That's a consideration you have to make for yourself, I think. But both these seeds are extremely difficult in my opinion. And then let's take a look at the trader location. So in this seed, the trader location will be closer to you than the last time. So in this regards, I will also say that the first seed is more challenging than this one, but some people like having a trader near you and don't really consider that a challenging aspect of a seed, but rather annoying, because the trader is pretty much the trader is just really useful. So for the crypts, the spread is pretty good. Don't look in this case, you don't look at the orange circles in the black forest, because those are the burials. Look at the crypts in the swamp areas. You can see that some swamps will have only a few and other swamps will have a lot. And then to summarize this seed, your starting location being really small, the fact that you have to start sailing pretty much at the very start of the game, and that the first boss is not on your main island, and that your main island does not have any biomes, and that the biomes near you are pretty scarce. You don't have a lot of variety. And when you finally take your boat, you will also find a lot of plains on this map. So the plains intensity is pretty high as well. So the name of the final seed is ALLFATHER, all in caps, and the world looks like this. So again, when you go to the map tool, you will see that your starting location is again not that big. It's bigger than the second seed, but smaller than the first seed. But the first thing you already will see is that, you don't have a lot of biomes near you. It's pretty poor. So again, you will have to travel a lot for plains, for swamps, and for big areas of mountains in this case. The only thing you really have near you is black forest again, and maybe a little mountain here. This one actually does have the first boss near you, really close to it. So in that sense, it's pretty convenient. But all other bosses are again pretty far away. Elder is relatively close. Motor is not that far as well, but the 5th boss is far away again. Bone Mass is actually really far away on this map. If we go to the trader spawn locations, it's actually pretty weird because they are all in the upper half of the map. So in this case, you will have to go to the north or the northwest or the northeast relative to your spawn to find a trader. Or you can find this one maybe by chance. But this seed is pretty unique in the sense that you won't find any traders in the southern hemisphere of this map. So you will have to sail to the north. But in regards of how quickly you need to build a ship, well, you can just kill the first boss and yeah, stay on your main island for a bit, I think. So in comparison with the first and the second seed, you can delay your ship building for a bit, but when you get to Elder, you will have to build a ship. And in terms of the boss locations in its totality, I think this seed actually has the easiest boss allocations, but they kind of get complicated by the fact that all of these locations are, yeah, surrounded by plains, as you can see here, 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 and then here, here, and here, and here as well. So yeah, there's a lot of plains on this map. The intensity is quite high. So in that sense, this is a quite challenging map. The most challenging aspect of this map, in my opinion, is that you start on a small island with no biomes whatsoever, and the nearest island is also very scarce in biomes. You only have black forest and a little bit of mountains here and there, but nothing too crazy or nothing too special. But you will have to explore and sail a lot on this map to find big heaps of plains and swamp. So yeah, your starting location isn't that good. It's really challenging actually. And if you look at the crypts in these swamp areas, you can again see a pretty challenging spread. For example, this area only has 2, this area has none, this one only has 1, this area has 1 as well, this swamp area has a little bit more. But then you also have areas like this where you actually find a lot of crypts. But also a lot of swamp areas have only a few crypts. In my opinion, this seed is also challenging if you consider that, because there are not a lot of swamp areas close to your location with a lot of crypts. So for that, you will have to explore the map as well. You will have to travel quite some distances to find some swamps with a lot of crypts. But yeah, guys, these 3 seeds are all very challenging in my opinion for the reasons I stated. I'm not quite sure which one is actually the hardest of the 3. Like I said, we'll have to decide that together. But yeah, if you want a challenge, if you want a hardcore mode seed, then definitely try one of these 3 out. And I would say that if you want a seed with everything really far away from you, then I would pick number 1, seed number 1. If you want a seed with a really tiny starting location and not a lot around you, then I would say pick seed 2. And if you want a mix of seed 1 and seed 2, then I would pick seed number 3. And yeah, that's in my opinion how you can describe these 3 seeds. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And if you are going to play on one of these seeds, let me know how that went for you. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!